Chapter 556, World of Sun and Moon 7. After returning my true soul to my main body, I inform Gold Shaking Bird, Hong Fan, and Yohi of our destination. First, I'll confirm old connections in each of the middle realms, and then head straight to the lightning sacred sea. As you wish, I have no objections. Hoo. Hong Fan still seems a bit curt, perhaps harboring lingering resentment over my earlier reckless actions. On the other hand, Gold Shaking Bird appears inexplicably overjoyed. Yohi, having seemingly been refined into an immortal treasure by Gold Shaking Bird, rests quietly within my body, only letting out soft sounds of he. It seems none of them have faced significant problems over the last 49 years. I quickly send split souls to 4 of the 5 middle realms, excluding the Purple Gold realm. Ancient Force realm, Sea King Hall. I see a familiar face there. It has been a while, Sacred Master Heilin. Heilin locks eyes with my split soul and lets out a deep sigh. You've now come as a senior. It feels like just yesterday I was chasing after you to appoint you as my successor. Haha, even so, I still remember the grace you showed me when I was chanting the phenomena extinguishing mantra in complete ignorance and concealed me in the deep sea to evade the eyes and ears of the savage mountain divine spirit. Ahem, when I bring up the phenomena extinguishing mantra, he clears his throat awkwardly, seemingly embarrassed. Back then, I thought you only intended to destroy the sun and moon heavenly domain. Please allow me to apologize for my misunderstanding. There's no need. If it had been me, and I saw a madman recklessly chanting a mantra capable of destroying the universe without any explanation, I would have likely lashed out and tried to kill them as well. At the time, the phenomena extinguishing mantra was used to borrow the attraction force of the universe's end to scatter filling the heavens governing view across the world. However, explaining its principles would have required explaining the wisdom of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity and the Salt Sea Supreme Deity, so I refrained from doing so. Of course, it also served as a smokescreen to distract the 5 sacred masters of the middle realms. While they were preoccupied, I set up the true starting point for properly activating filling the heavens governing view without even Co Whale noticing. In any case, the incident back then was largely my fault. Heilin, however, still looks regretful and forms a hand seal. Kururururung. This is, from within the Sea King Hall, a torrent of blue water surges inward. Recognizing its identity, I click my tongue. Clear scale armor. Indeed, it is the clear scale armor that I enveloped over cedarwood painting when I advanced to true immortality. The karmic fire and the seed of vice left behind by Blood Yin were reclaimed by the underworld. However, the clear scale armor wasn't retrieved. Since I couldn't let it fall over to Radiance Hall or the Source River, I've been managing it instead. Please accept it. Such generosity. I gratefully accept it. In addition, I will share a portion of the power of Ancient Force as well. Wo Wang. Heilin divides a portion of the deep sea of the Ancient Force realm and gives it to me. As I look at the whirlpool of countless dimensions within the deep sea, I let out a small sigh. From a true immortal's perspective, this is truly profane. The Ancient Force realm is, quite literally, a world made up of the corpses of countless true immortals. Heaven immortals who failed in their prophecies, forgotten immortal beasts erased from history. The deaths of countless true immortals overflow in the form of the deep sea. At the same time, I see dimensions whose nature is completely indiscernible flickering within the sea. Are these fragments of heavenly domains? Among the fragments in the deep sea, some appear to be pieces that can only be described as remnants of heavenly domains. What on earth is Ancient Force? Ancient Force originates entirely from the Head Realm. Heilin explains further. The Head Realm, I don't know much about it myself, but I've heard it's a place that devours and stores countless worlds and realities. Why such a phenomenon occurs, and what its true nature is, only the truly exalted ones would know. But one thing is certain. All beings who control the plane of Qi and walk the pathway of history, when they observe the threads of history, they inevitably perceive threads of lost history among them. And when they connect with those lost histories through their unique powers, what they gain is Ancient Force. Through that Ancient Force, some immortal beasts gain special authorities, some uncover unknown truths, and some are said to acquire seats that were lost long ago. However, the crucial point is this. Anyone who obtains Ancient Force is said to be able to discern its origin. And the origin of all Ancient Force is the Head Realm. As I listen to Heilin's words, I once again recall the ominous nature of the Head Realm. In this world, there are many forgotten histories and disappeared truths. And all those who gather ancient force are, in essence, beings who excavate the truths of forgotten history. Wo Wang, He Lin rises from his throne, kneels before me, and offers a portion of the deep sea's water. My ancestor, the immortal beast king candidate, and the deputy judge of the netherworld, the ancient force true lord Hanyang, once sought to uncover the disgrace of the heavenly venerables trapped within ancient force. To prevent their disgrace from being revealed, 3 heavenly venerables attempted to eradicate my ancestor. However, the original owner of the phenomenon extinguishing mantra, the owner of Salt Mountain, invited my ancestor to the outer sea, persuaded the 3 heavenly venerables, severed the ancient force my ancestor had obtained, and sealed it within the outer sea. Due to this, my ancestor avoided being pursued by the 3 heavenly venerables, and was able to safely enter the service of the imperial venerable. Wo Wang, over the stream of deep sea offered by He Lin, certain formulas emerge. There are innumerable hidden truths in this world, and they are deeply tied to the heavenly venerables in the head realm. My ancestor devoted their entire life to uncovering the hidden truths of the world. My ancestor, 500,000 years ago, followed the vast cold heavenly lord, believing that by following, they could uncover the entirety of ancient force. But they were ultimately defeated. The resentment of my ancestor at that time, I, as their descendant, understand better than anyone. Thus, I ask you to accept this. Quote. These formulas are, it is an immortal arts that was deliberately hidden from the savage owner of mountain. This is because that one cannot claim to be the successor of the owner of Salt Mountain. The Salt Sea returning dew jade scattered throughout the ancient force realm is just a degraded version of this immortal art. Salt Sea returning dew jade, Xian Hai Gui Lu Yu. TL, the salt in the degraded version is the salt in salt crystal, while the salt in the immortal art is the salt in Salt Sea supreme deity. That is the name of the formula rising above the water of the deep sea. The ancient force of my ancestor, which the owner of Salt Mountain sealed in the outer sea, the disgrace of the heavenly venerables was set as coordinates, which this immortal art uses to navigate the outer sea. That is Salt Sea returning dew jade. Please accept it. Accept it and, after inheriting the sorrowful wish of the owner of Salt Mountain and my ancestor, please uncover the hidden histories in their entirety. Quote. Why give this to me? Would it not be better to entrust it to another among the immortal beasts, or to an immortal beast king candidate that is more suitable for it? Quote. The fact that you have inherited the will of the owner of Salt Mountain signifies that you are someone with both great nobility and grand aspirations, enough to catch the eye of that being's lingering soul. Among the current candidates for the position of immortal beast king, there is only the savage mountain god, the sinister black dragon, the foolish supreme tiger, the lustful glass peacock, the small dreaming azure pung, the white-winged heavenly pegasus who loathes my ancestor, and the yin ghost black turtle who cares only for the underworld. That is all. Compared to them, you are a far more suitable immortal beast king candidate than the mountain god. I look at He Lin as I absorb the formulas of Salt Sea returning dew jade that he offers. Please, inherit the will of my ancestor. Like so, in the ancient force realm, I receive the formulas of the Salt Sea returning dew jade that symbolize the will of the ancient force true Lord Hanyang, a portion of the deep sea dimension, and the clear scale armor. With that, my meeting in the ancient force realm comes to an end. Kururung, I arrive at a familiar place for the first time in a long while. A violet sky, the writhing devilish energy, the name of this chaotic world is the true devil realm. The previous sacred master of the true devil realm, Ya-Eum, perished together with Blood Yin inside Blood Yin. Then, who has succeeded Ya-Eum as sacred master? Interestingly, it is none other than the Salt Sea esteemed one from the ancient force realm, Yukjung. It's been a while, senior. Salt Sea esteemed one Yukjung looks at me and gives a short greeting. The forces of light are supposedly chasing you or whatever, yet you sure are wandering freely. How did you become the sacred master of the true devil realm? I look at Yukjung with a puzzled expression, and he clicks his tongue before replying. Ya-Eum, that vile thing, extracted only his soul and embedded it within Blood Yin, then dragged both my soul and body and embedded into his flow. It's as if I was forcibly made to inhabit Ya-Eum's body. Yukjung mutters with a displeased look. Our entire sea dragon race was in truth born from Ya-Eum's purple soul filling the heavens. And this esteemed one knew one thing. As long as Ya-Eum's purple soul filling the heavens exists, our sea dragon race was essentially a slave race that could at any time be offered as a sacrifice to Blood Yin if Ya-Eum desired. Even compared to the slave races abused in the bright cold realm, we were far more wretched. From Yukjung's mouth comes the history of the sea dragon race. So, I originally requested Yaim. I petitioned to liberate us from purple soul filling the heavens. But he refused. He said that we were nothing more than chess pieces of great beings like Blood Yin, Hyeonium, and Yaim, saying that there existed no other possibilities for us. And so, I made a resolution. Though no matter what I do, I could never defeat Blood Yin, for at least Yaim and Hyeonium, for at least those two, I resolved to destroy them and to break free from the purple soul filling the heavens that bound us and escape from the grasp of true immortals. To break free from our fate of being born as slaves. But, haha, he lets out a hollow laugh. Ultimately, this is how it turned out. Blood Yin, Hyeonium, Yaim. Senior eliminated them all, and Yaim, after extracting the soul of the sea dragon race with the highest realm, me, and embedded it into his body, self-destructed. After reading the history left behind by Yaim in his body, I came to understand that Yaim had deeply loved the sea dragon race deeply from the very beginning. I cried out for liberation from purple soul filling the heavens, but, as it turns out, our sea dragon race, born from the power of purple soul filling the heavens, would lose our status as a dragon race if its power were extinguished. At worst, we would degenerate into protein clump monstrosities. At best, we might retain some semblance of life but lose all reason, becoming mere demon spirits. In the end, Yuk-jung lets out a sigh in a voice that sounds drained of strength. I, who once cried out for the liberation of the sea dragon race from purple soul filling the heavens, became the very master of the purple soul filling the heavens that oppresses the sea dragon race. And now, for the sake of the sea dragon race, I am in a position where I must protect purple soul filling the heavens. Isn't it truly laughable? Ha ha ha. So, what do you plan to do from now on? What else can I do? There is only one path. Yuk-jung's eyes glint. Unlike someone like Banta, who hides his tender heart behind a facade of malice, I will do whatever it takes to quickly find a successor. After that, I will advance to the entering nirvana stage, complete my immortal art, and challenge the true immortal advancement. Then, I will become an immortal beast and engrave the immortal beast bloodline of the sea dragon race into this world. If I can do that, even if purple soul filling the heavens is dissolved, the sea dragon race will not degenerate into beasts. That is my ultimate goal for now. I smile faintly at Yuk-jung's grand aspiration and offer my blessing. I hope you definitely achieve your goal someday. Thank you for your support. After meeting Yuk-jung, who has become the sacred master of the true devil realm, I check on the status of the other esteemed ones of the true devil realm. Briefly, I meet with the Black Fog esteemed one, pat their shoulder, and say, let's do well from now on. With that, my business in the true devil realm concludes. The Nether Ghost realm. I look back on the connections I made there. Cha-jo Gwi and his subordinate. And the followers who once served under the Wuji religious order but fled from the Twilight Domain. They are all doing well currently. I secretly repair the puppet bodies of the followers who had fled, and later happened to meet a rather memorable connection. You are. I greet the great being. It is Yuhi, who had ascended to the Nether Ghost realm at some point. Having reached great completion in the ghost immortal Kui devilish secrets that I taught him, he has fully transformed his nascent soul into a ghost king and has splendidly ascended to the Nether Ghost realm. The one who was once my follower has now become a powerful cultivator at the mid-4-axis stage, becoming a renowned figure in the Nether Ghost realm. He is one of the few remaining followers of the Wuji religious order. That is who Yuhi is, so I smile warmly as I look at him. Unlike Hamjin, who fell into corruption, Yuhi has grown admirably. You've grown well, unlike some other kids. Haha, is the great one talking about Hamjin? You know him. I have met him. He is currently wandering the astral realm in training. He has already turned over a new leaf. And, he is already stronger than me. I see. Thousands of years ago, before my battle with Seo Weol, I already placed filling the heavens governing view to its maximum on Hamjin and assigned him a task. At the time, he had been infected by both filling the heavens governing view and tainted soul filling the heavens. If you can completely rid yourself of both my filling the heavens governing view and the tainted soul filling the heavens within you, then return to me. That is what I said before kicking him out to the astral realm. If I hadn't given him a mission of such high difficulty, he would have continued to fall into corruption and live a debauched life. In any case, if he has grown stronger and turned over a new leaf as Yohi says, then it must mean he understood the meaning behind the task I gave him and gained enlightenment. It seems worthwhile to test Hamjin one more time and perhaps bring him along in the future. I turn to Yuhi and ask him a question. I am planning to embark on a distant journey. Do you have any thoughts of following me? It would be an honor. Please allow me to accompany the Great One. To follow me, even if you have to die once. Yes. Quote. Very well. After explaining some of my plans to Yu-He, I head to the Black Palace of the Nether Ghost Realm. There, Yu-O is waiting for me. It's been a while, Sacred Master Yu-O. It's been a long time since I came to the Nether Ghost Realm. The night sky is remarkably clear today. It is all thanks to Senior, who either beat those entering Nirvana true persons into unconsciousness or forced them to advance. Currently the number of true persons of the Source River faction are, about 28. The rest were pushed into advancing and were unable to accept death, falling into the underworld. It is said they are being judged. The remaining true persons are currently in hibernation for a long time, recovering from their fatal injuries. If you wish, I will assist the remaining true persons in their true immortal advancement as well. Ho ho, there is no need for that. In any case, the night sky of the Nether Ghost Realm will remain clear for a while. That alone is enough. After sharing some light conversation, we gradually shift to discussing the true matter at hand. By the way, there is something I must ask, Sacred Master Yu-O. What is it? Who is the distinguished one exactly? I voice the question I've been harboring for some time. According to rumors, she is said to be a fragment or split soul of the reincarnation Judge Yusu Ryan. From what I've experienced, she is not simply a vessel for the oldest one. Above all, the one who possesses the powerful presence of being Seo Ran's mother is her. Though it was said that the split soul is Seo Ran's mother, and she isn't truly Seo Ran's mother. If that is the case, just why did she send a split soul to the head realm in the first place? What is your true identity? Why did you send a split soul to the head realm? After the death of the reincarnation judge, why does someone of your caliber, who could have gone to the underworld to become a reaper, remain here to be a sacred master? May I ask about this? At my question, Yu-O smiles meaningfully. Quote. Originally, I would have no reason to tell you even if you reached true immortality, but I sense the workings of the Imperial Venerable in the Distinguished One's death. Have you met the Imperial Venerable? If you mean the oldest one, then yes. Before my advancement to true immortality. Quote. I see. In that case, your presence before me must also be by their will. As you are deemed worthy, I shall tell you. As she reveals her identity, I feel as though my eyes might pop out of their sockets. I am both the split soul and the former immortal treasure of the reincarnation judge, Yusu Ryan. At the same time, I am also an aspect of her elder brother, the chief judge Yu Haote's seat of good and evil. I am the incarnation of the seat of good. 557. Quote. What did you just say? Yu-O is saying she is the seed of virtue that Blood Yin searched so desperately for. As I am flustered, she hands me a cup of plum tea and speaks. Please do not misunderstand. I have only become the incarnation of the seed of good. I am not the seed of good itself. Then, what exactly do you mean by being the incarnation of the seed of good? First, I need to explain at least a part of what happened back then. However, I must ask for your understanding that I cannot tell you everything. The Imperial Venerable would not permit it. I will listen to what you can share. Yu-O begins her explanation. At that time, Yu Haote assisted the vast cold heavenly lord in a battle against a certain entity and became entangled to the brink of annihilation. However, perhaps due to his mind growing hazy as he neared destruction, he acted in a way that went against his own impartiality. Instead of supporting the being he was meant to assist in the battle, he chose to protect his own blood relative. He chose to save Yusu Ryan, my main body and master. At the final moment, Yu Haote split the seed of good and evil, using his very seed as a medium to revise history. As a result, Yusu Ryan did not completely perish at the final moment. Instead, she merged with the seed of good and managed to preserve her life. Quote. Quote. Her words mean that the reincarnation judge of the netherworld and the seat holder of longevity, Yusu Ryan, is not dead. Of course, her physical body died and became the nether ghost realm, but her spirit is undoubtedly still alive, intertwined with the seed of good. And, after the war of the vast cold heavenly lord ended in defeat, her main body ended up being bound deep within the head realm along with the seed of good. Quote. Quote. That is why, I, who is essentially a split soul of the reincarnation judge, came to exist in a state akin to being an incarnation of the seed of good. Afterwards, when Blood Yin came to his senses, he desperately tried to save his sister Yu Su Ryan's true soul, who also became half of his authority. Wait, then why did Blood Yin suddenly abandon the seed of good and instead attempt to switch to the seed of abundant offspring? Because she was consumed by the head realm. Not long ago, I observed Senior entering and exiting the head realm. Senior Baekwoon seemed unable to perceive it, but perhaps due to my affiliation with the underworld side, I could observe it. In any case, since you entered and returned from the head realm, you must have seen it, yes. At her words, I let out a faint sound of agreement. I had seen it. The beings of the head realm, endlessly repeating. Those consumed by the head realm, end up living eternally for infinite time as puppets. They eventually end up losing their ego and completely perish, becoming a part of ancient force. Blood Yin's concern gradually grew deeper, and one day, he contacted me. He told me to send a fragment to the head realm. He wanted to see if my fragment and the immortal art he had imbued within it would resonate simultaneously with the seed of good. However, acute NOS. You lost contact with the fragment. Yes. After reincarnating my fragment into the Black Ghost Valley of the head realm, it sought to establish contact with Blood Yin's immortal art by searching for clues about the immortal art from the librarian of the Black Ghost Valley. From that point on, the connection with my fragment was severed. I know what happens next. Yuo's fragment gained self-awareness, fell in love with one of Seo Weo's tainted soul filling the heavens, and gave birth to Seo Ran. After losing connection with my fragment, Blood Yin seemed to fully accept his sister's death. From that point on, Blood Yin, completely, abandoned his pursuit of the seed of good that he already partially gave up on and fully committed himself to the plan of the seed of abundant offspring. Quote. Does this explanation suffice? Quote. It's shocking. I click my tongue in astonishment. At the same time, a question arises. There is something I've been curious about for some time, but, what exactly is a seed? Now that I have become a true immortal, I have a general sense of it to some extent, but I am unsure what it is exactly. Since Sacred Master Yuo is someone deeply knowledgeable about the immortal family, I believe you can answer this. A seed is, well, haven't you already grasped it to some extent? After all, if you've become a vestige liberation immortal, you must have seen the path. Quote. That is correct. The thing at the very end of that path. That is the seat. For now, I take it you are not familiar with the titles that correspond to the positions of true immortals. If you would teach me, I would be most grateful. Yuo begins to explain to me about the positions of true immortals. First, those who initially reach the realm of true immortality are called vestige liberation immortals. These are individuals who have shedded their physical bodies in the entering nirvana stage and fully embraced life and death itself. I am aware up to that point. The second realm of immortals is called upper immortal, Shang Xian. More specifically, it is divided into heaven upper immortal, Tian Shang Xian, and earth upper immortal, De Shang Xian. In this realm, the form of a true immortal starts to solidify properly. Additionally, this is the realm where one determines which path to follow. It must be the pathways of fate and history. One could say so. Here, the distinction between heaven immortals and earth immortals, that is, heaven immortals and immortal beasts become clear. Since you have already become a vestige liberation immortal, you must have realized by now that for you, the distinction between the heaven tribe and earth tribe has already disappeared. I nod in agreement. Indeed, since the moment I rose to the true immortal plane after gaining control of the three planes, and shed my physical body, I ceased to be either heaven tribe or earth tribe. Being born as an earth tribe does not mean one must become an immortal beast, nor does being born as a heaven tribe mean one must become a heaven immortal. Birth is merely a stepping stone to controlling either the plane of chi or the plane of fate in order to rise to a higher plane. Of course, choosing the path aligned with the plane you've mastered is much more advantageous, but the important thing is that the realm of vestige liberation immortal has an overview of all possibilities. Therefore, if you come to choose a path, please do so carefully. The path of fate is undoubtedly convenient and terrifyingly powerful, but a fate once spoken aloud cannot be taken back. Yuo warns me with a serious expression. However, her words seem to subtly advise me to choose the path of an immortal beast over that of a heaven immortal. I will take heed. After the realm of upper immortal, where one chooses between heaven upper immortal and earth upper immortal, comes the next realm that is called Great Net Da Luo. It is also called Great Net Immortal. One becomes a net that binds the true immortal realm, engraving one's own laws. into the world, and, just as one mastered the planes of chi and fate in the entering nirvana stage, one begins to take control of a portion of the true immortal plane. From this realm onward, a true immortal can open a middle realm within their own body. I see. True immortals below the realm of great net split into the interdimensional void upon death and become decaying corpse realms, but starting from great net immortals, they turn into middle realms. That is correct. Regardless of how they die, true immortals function as worlds where living beings can thrive. And, as I mentioned, great net immortals who have partially mastered the true immortal plane reach the end of the path they have followed. This is where the fates of the vast majority of great net immortals are decided. An illusion appears before my eyes. It is an inverted cone. At first, I see small, bug-like clumps clinging to the inner surface of the inverted cone. But soon, the shapes of those clumps grow clearer and more distinct. They resemble birds. The birds then take flight from the surface of the inverted cone and begin to rise from within it. UO is projecting an illusion before my eyes. The illusion formed of ghostly energy almost seems like a diagram explaining the realms of true immortals. Inside the inverted cone, wind is blowing. The birds ride the current of their chosen wind, flying freely within the inverted cone. These birds are great net immortals. They have fully mounted their path and have become able to freely manipulate the Sumeru world. The wind they ride is their path. Just as a bird hatches from its egg, takes form, and flies through the sky with its wings, great net immortals are birds that can now take flight. They can freely engrave the path they have followed, their law, and make their middle realm a world that all mortal beings in the Sumeru world can ascend to. Ordinary birds diverge from this point. Before I realize it, the illusion of the birds expands further. Will they fly low, living by catching bugs, or will they ride even higher updrafts and rise to the sky? Looking closely, I notice that they are actually people with bird wings. Some do not soar towards a higher sky, instead circling in lower altitudes. However, some birds ride their chosen wind upwards, flying even higher to ride the rising updrafts. Among these birds, a few pierce through the clouds and reach the sky, only for their wings to burn and perish. But one bird, whose wings do not burn, succeeds in fully catching the ascending updraft and soars perpetually, never falling and forever flying in the sky. Someday, even this bird may burn away from the heat. However, until then, this bird will soar high in the sky, seizing control of the wind it rides, flying freely wherever it wishes. These are beings who have completely taken control of their path, the wind they ride, and have become significantly free from attraction force. These are the beings closest to the sky. These are the ones who have transcended great net immortals and can be said to be the pinnacle of true immortality, an immortal lord. An immortal lord of the fate pathway is called heavenly lord. An immortal lord of the earth pathway is called a true lord. Only then do I finally gain a clearer understanding of seats. One's chosen path. Seizing control of the wind one rides is the one who seizes control of their seat. Is this the way to become a seat holder? That is correct. There are countless laws and principles, Tao, in this world, and there is a place that can be called their origin. That is what we call seats. It is also referred to as the origin essence Zhen Yuan Xing, or the origin source Zhen Yuan Suo. The seat is a symbol of law, but at the same time, it is a sacred sanctuary, Sheng Suo. Only those who enter this sanctuary can be called seat holders, or immortal lords. As I solidify my understanding of the realms of true immortality, I ask a question about what I have seen. I have a question. At the end of the path I chose, I saw the great mountain supreme deity. Is reaching the place where the great mountain supreme deity resides how one becomes a seat holder? That is not the case. The sanctuary of origin is not a place anyone can enter. One sanctuary per one. Except for special cases, every seat has only one seat holder in the end. Furthermore, only those who completely seize the seat, turning the origin source of the law into their own audience chamber and throne, are those who transcend all limits and boundaries of true immortality to become supreme deities. The bird that had ridden the rising updraft and soared higher and higher into the sky has at some point become the wind itself that loudly blows through the sky. The bird that was riding the wind has become the wind, becoming a storm that occupies a place in the sky and sweeps through everything beneath the heavens. Now, no matter how high the bird flies, it no longer burns to death. No matter how far it flies, it no longer grows weary. For the bird has already become the law itself. Pasasasa. At that moment, Uo scatters the illusion. Only today do I finally grasp the hierarchy of the realms of true immortality. Vestige liberation immortal. Heaven upper immortal. Earth upper immortal. Great net immortal. Immortal lord. Above that is the governing immortal, which completes the realms of true immortals. And, watching you, I let out a low murmur. Quote. Then, those who follow a path upon which a supreme deity was born. That is correct. Beings under the path of a supreme deity may easily reach the realm of great net immortal, but they can never become seat holders, in other words, immortal lords. In short, quote. To become an immortal lord by following this path, I will have to fight and defeat the great mountain supreme deity while still in the state of a great net immortal. Yes. Quote. Suddenly faced with an overwhelming goal, I feel my mind go blank. Defeat that great mountain supreme deity as a great net immortal. Does that even make sense? Feeling my mind grow faint, I let out a groan. Should I change my path? As if sensing my concern, Yuo smiles brightly and speaks. Coincidentally, there happens to be a vacancy for the seat of vice that was recently retrieved by the underworld. Why not aim for the immortal lord position of vice and take a step on the path of vice here? The underworld would welcome senior most warmly. Quote. I will decline. More importantly, just how can the seat of good and evil be split into the two seats of virtue and vice? Can something called the origin essence be split in such a way? Something that is the root of absolute law. You misunderstand. In this world, there are only about 3 things that can be called absolute: fate, history, and death. Nothing else can ever be absolute. That includes the origin essence. It is not without reason that I used wind and updraft to represent the path and origin essence of true immortals. The wind swirls in Yuo's hand. Though it is called origin essence, it is closer to the concept of a place rather than a property or a symbol. Yet, at the same time, it possesses no distinct form or shape. That is the wind. Regardless of the shape of the wind when one faces it, or how one rides it, that is the freedom of all beings. The wind can merge, split, change direction, or alter its form. The shape and direction of the wind, the way one meets the wind are all determined solely by the one who rides it. The wind refines itself in Yuo's hand. The wind compresses, becoming a blade at times, a cool breeze at others, or even a scorching gust. Yet all of these are simply the same wind. What matters is interpretation. Depending on how beings interpret that wind, its form changes, and so does how it is received. If it is interpreted as something indivisible, it would remain indivisible. But if good and evil is interpreted as being able to split, then it splits. If it is interpreted as good, it becomes good, but if it is interpreted as evil, it turns evil. The most representative example is the seat of good and evil. And, I can't help but flinch at her next words. The interpretation of the seat of Salt Mountain, which was once praised as a noble and sacred power. Yet, even though the same seat of Salt Mountain was obtained, the seat of the devil god, the great mountain supreme deity, that is described as a vile, horrifying, and fearful power, is entirely different. Quote. So even the same repentant enlightenment can call forth entirely different authority depending on the interpretation. That is right. Strictly speaking, it does not call forth a different authority. Rather, the direction of the authority changes entirely. I smile bitterly and offer a bow to Yuo. That must be a starting point by which a great net immortal could confront a supreme deity who has seized a seat. I must perform more repentant enlightenments than the great mountain supreme deity, derive more interpretations, and assert my interpretations more powerfully. If it is not a pure battle of authority but one of proving the correctness of interpretations, then that would be the key to defeating the great mountain supreme deity. You grasp it quickly. However, defeating an opponent in this manner will be a despairing level of difficulty. This is because while Senior interprets the seat, your opponent will never be simply playing around. Furthermore, the one with the greatest authority to interpret a seat ultimately lies with its owner. That is why I suggest you take a different path. If that different path happens to be aligned with us of the underworld faction, all the better. Quote. Thank you for your consideration. However, now that I have obtained a starting point on how to confront the great mountain supreme deity, that alone is enough. From here on, I will handle it myself. Because, come up. I briefly close my eyes, recalling GWAKM's single statement. They are undeniably hateful and loathsome. But at the same time, I must determine outcome with them no matter what. They are my senior brother. For that reason, I cannot leave them in that state. Therefore, even if it is despairing, I will walk the mountain path. Hearing my words, Yuo lets out a soft sigh and nods. How regrettable. The seat of vice truly suited Senior. Hearing that, I feel a sense of déjà vu that has lingered since earlier and decide to ask. From the moment I first met Sacred Master Yuo, I've had a feeling of déjà vu. And, that feeling only grew stronger since the moment Sacred Master suggested I aim for the seat of vice. For some reason, I have this thought. That this déjà vu I am feeling, you are feeling it too. The reason I asked Sacred Master about seats and the many other questions were all because of this sense of déjà vu. A true immortal's intuition should be close to the truth, no? Please tell me, do you know the cause of this déjà vu? Yuo, for some reason, feels all too familiar. It feels as though we certainly met before. It is not simply the feeling of her as the incarnation of the oldest 1. It definitely feels like I've met her before. It's not related to Seo Ran or Seo Weiol either. I've never encountered a fragment of Yuo in the head realm. And yet, why is it that I feel such déjà vu when I see you? Déjà vu. Ho ho, I have a suspicion. What is it? Senior, surely, has met the seat of virtue in the head realm at some point. Isn't that so? Exclamation mark quote. Yuo seems both happy and somewhat sorrowful as she continues speaking with a complicated expression. Contrary to what Blood Yin predicted, my main body is still alive. That is why Senior felt déjà vu when you saw me, and that is why I felt déjà vu when I saw Senior as well. Ho ho, if Blood Yin had known this, he wouldn't have given up. Quote. Senior, please think back carefully to the people you met when you were in the head realm. The main body fused with the seat of virtue. Yu Su Ryan, surely must have been among them. I finish my tea, frozen in place. Someday, if a being from the head realm emerges that you are certain must be Yu Su Ryan, please, let me know. For the sake of Yu Haote, who has completely departed, for the sake of me, and for the sake of the Imperial Venerable, that person will surely hold great significance. Understood. If I ever come across a being I am confident is that entity, I will let Sacred Master know. Having finished speaking, Yuo rises from her seat, mentioning that there is administrative work she needs to handle. It feels like an attitude of saying that she has said everything she intends to convey to me. Perhaps the information Yuo conveyed was information indirectly delivered to me by the oldest one. With that, all matters in the Nether Ghost realm are now resolved. Thus, carrying Yuo's request on my back and the shocking truths in my chest, I leave the Nether Ghost realm. Author's note. I had originally planned to conclude the Sun and Moon Heavenly Domain memory recollection today, but the amount of information felt too dense, so I've split it up a bit. The Sun and Moon Heavenly Domain episode should end tomorrow. As for the Seat of Virtue, I'm still debating how to handle it. Whether to introduce it directly in the story or leave it as a MacGuffin. Either direction seems like it would be fun. For now, the Seat of Virtue itself is definitively tied to one of the characters from the Head Realm arc. I hope you'll have fun trying to guess who it is. As always, thank you. Chapter 558. World of Sun and Moon 9. Bright Cold Realm. Kurururung. As I enter the bright cold realm, the heaven and earth spiritual energy of the realm trembles briefly. Baekwoon has noticed me entering. Wo Wang. Light flashes as if it is about to burst, and a certain ripple radiates from Baekwoon's position. It is a signal. Baekwoon is sending a message to the true immortals of Radiance Hall that I have entered the bright cold realm. How thorough you are, Baekwoon. I briefly glare at Baekwoon and laugh. She immediately sends the signal upon discovering me, but my main body is outside the bright cold realm, preventing the message from leaking outwards, so my location isn't revealed to the true immortals of Radiance Hall. After ensuring that none of the signals leaving the bright cold realm reach their other destinations, I cast a brief look at Baekwoon before heading off to find my yearn for connections. The first place I visit is the Black Ghost Valley. The human race has, at some point, reclaimed its original territory. Although Kong Minhee contaminated much of the human race's land, once the death energy scattered to some extent, it unexpectedly became the optimal territory for cultivation for the Black Ghost Valley. For that reason, Black Ghost Valley now stands as the foremost sect of the human race, wielding overwhelming influence. I enter the deepest part of Black Ghost Valley and meet their leadership after a long time. This is unexpected, for you to have entered this place. See cult leader. The current leaders of the Black Ghost Valley. They are Wei Shihun and Iam Hua, the married couple who were once members of the Wuji religious order. Both have now reached the early integration stage, having cultivated based on the ghostly energy Kong Minhee left behind. From what I hear, Iam Hua was once the vengeful spirit of a human, while Wei Shihun became a Jiangshi after his spirit possessed the corpse of a dead human. Because of this, they were able to be accepted as part of the human race. Of course, it's probably more because it was an opportunity to accept the combat power of an integration stage grand cultivator couple. They wouldn't have cared whether they were ghostly creatures or whatnot. I laugh as I look at the two trembling before me. Do not be too afraid. I did not come here to reprimand you for leaving the Wuji religious order and entering the Black Ghost Valley. Rather, seeing that you are doing well here puts my heart at ease. LVS. The ghostly couple, who are both among the few remaining members of the Wuji religious cult and hold a special place for me, let out a sigh of relief and smile at my words. We are grateful, cult leader. We had only heard that cult leader was attacked by a true immortal after advancing to the entering nirvana stage. I have ascended to true immortality. Is that really true? Their eyes widen, and their mouths gape in astonishment. We exchange a few words of conversation for a while. After some time, I ask them a question. I will soon embark on a journey to a distant world. Would you perhaps wish to follow me? At my words, they exchange glances before showing troubled expressions. From their faces and intent alone, I can already tell. I understand. It seems to be a difficult matter. Oh, our apologies. We have a child. Although they are deceased beings, they tell me they now have a child. At their level of cultivation, where a child can be born not through sperm and eggs but through the combination of heaven and earth's spiritual energy, it isn't strange for ghostly creatures to conceive a child. I see. If it is the human race, then it will also serve as a safe shield for you. I wish you and your family continued good fortune. Thank you, cult leader. We offer our deepest gratitude. The couple bows to me before approaching to tell me something. And, cult leader, this is something we learned only after joining the Grand Cultivator Association and accumulating merits, but it is something cult leader must know. What is it? It is about the origins of the Grand Cultivation Association leader, Jun Jae. Jun Jae's origins. From their following words, I come to learn a very intriguing fact. Jun Jae. I see. Understood. From what I hear, Jun Jae is a being born with the bloodline of the immortal beast Pangu, and his homeland is not the sun and moon heavenly domain where we reside but rather the elephant nose heavenly domain. They say the elephant nose heavenly domain shares some similarities with the nature of the ancient force realm in that only the chosen ones can enter. In that case, if I ever have to go there, Jun Jae can serve as the key. After carefully organizing the information I heard from Wei Shihun and Eam Hua in my mind, I set out for Penglai Palace. In the Penglai Palace I am visiting after a very long time, the person seated in the position of Palace Lord is a very familiar presence. It is Yi Jin. It has been a while. Yi Jin. Yi Jin, seated on the throne of the Penglai Palace Lord, has already reached the 4-axis stage. He gazes at me briefly before wordlessly pulling out a bottle of liquor from a storage scroll. Care for a drink, elder? Sure, I share a drink with Yi Jin for some time. Penglai Palace Lord Hun Won. Before the previous Palace Lord was taken away to Elder's cedarwood painting, he said when the time comes for me to die, I will transmit the information of my successor. And, when his time came, Hun Won placed my name in the position of successor. I wanted to figure out why such a thing happened. However, I couldn't uncover the truth. I've been waiting for the day Elder would return. He pours me a drink and asks, "What is the truth, Elder? Was Hun Won mad? Or, just as my ancestor, Yi Wei, had hoped, did Hun Won come to his senses?" Quote. I drink and reply, it was just as Yi Wei had wished. The two died holding each other. Quote. I see. Yi Jin downs his drink in one go. Quote. Senior. What is it? At your level, senior, could you perhaps grant me the 5 blessings axis? Do you desire it? I know it is shameless, but please, in consideration of senior's friendship with Elder Yi Wei, I implore you. Please grant me the 5 blessings axis. Wo Wang. I draw out a portion of the 5 blessings energy within me and implant it into Yi Jin's body. I have condensed the power of the 5 blessings axis and planted it as seeds within you. When you conduct your Axis Foundation practice in the lower realms from the bright cold realm, the 5 blessings axis will form around those seeds. Quote. Thank you. With this, at least, I'll have some foothold within Penglai Palace. He smiles faintly and speaks. Ancestor Yi Wei once told me about the secret of our family name. Your family name? Yes. The surname Yi Yuan has the meaning of pond. Yi Jin begins to explain. Originally, my ancestor, Elder Yi Wei, was an orphan before becoming a disciple of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. She said she had no surname, only the name Wei. The only surname she received was the Jin surname, bestowed by the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. However, during the catastrophe 50,000 years ago, she voluntarily renounced the Jin surname. And the surname she created for herself was the Yian surname. Yian Jin drinks his liquor and continues speaking. Why would she choose the surname, Pond? I once asked her that, and she replied saying this. Long ago, the person she loved the most was a person like a mountain. Though they are separated now, if by any chance, if by the slightest chance, that person like a mountain returns, it was to welcome them back again, to become a pond that accepts the soil they accumulated. That is why she chose the surname Yian Yuan. Quote. If it's elder, you must know, right? Who the person my ancestor referred to is. Quote. I know, yes, it is none other than the former palace lord, who is also my ancestor. Hun Wen. To be honest, I hate Hun Wen. I hate the things he left behind and I hate the things he did to my ancestor. I even hate his descendants. If you think about it, they are distant relatives of mine, but those damned Hun bastards keep proposing political marriages with me, regardless of whether they're men or women. It's driving me insane. Elder must know of that Hun Wei person, right? It's that woman who clung to Elder. She keeps making a fuss about getting married, and I feel like I'm about to lose my mind. I truly despise everything Hun Wen left behind. Crack. The glass in Yian Jin's hand. Fractures. Quote. But still, I have to protect it, don't I? Yian Jin, his face slightly flushed as if slightly drunk, gives a bitter smile. Because my ancestor definitely cherished it all. After all, she hoped for it to continue. Therefore I will become stronger. I will grow stronger and stronger until I seize control of Penglai Palace. I will claim the position of Penglai Palace Lord that no one can challenge. I listen to Yian Jin's resolve and smile faintly. That is why I requested the 5 blessings axes. Thank you for granting my request. Quote. More than the 5 blessings axes, it seems you needed me to settle your heart. You could say so. Quote. You've grown, Yian Jin. Yian Jin is no longer the cute Yian Jin I once knew. He is now growing into an adult. The drinks were good. I'll take my leave now. I hope you reach the integration stage. Yes, please take care. And, Wo Wang, I begin to reveal my presence while in my split soul state. Quick. Swords of glass begin to spurt from Yian Jin's entire body. His eyeballs explode, dissolving into fine white powder that flows out. His body begins to transform into something unrecognizable whether it's glass or salt, and he cannot even scream as he writhes in agony. I hope you succeed. Wo Wang, I infused Yian Jin with as much wisdom of the great mountain-splitting emperor technique as he can endure. Afterward, I leave Penglai Palace behind. Bright Cold Realm, True Dragon Alliance. There, I encounter yet another old connection of mine. It is Yu Ryan, who has at some point become an integration stage demon king. This time, there is no intersection between her and me. Yet, the fact that we shared a connection in a past life does not change. She's already in the mid-integration stage. At this rate of cultivation, she can sufficiently aim for the star-shattering stage. Perhaps, she might even be able to aspire to become a true immortal. Wu Wang, I reveal my presence before Yu Ryan. Kia, glass swords emerge from her entire body. She burns fiercely before collapsing unconscious on the spot. It's done. I have imparted the wisdom of basic immortal arts to her. I instill an even firmer understanding of various omens, exponentially increasing the probability of her advancement to the star-shattering stage. Blessing Yu Ryan's future, I head towards Cedarwood Grove. Cedarwood Grove, the territory of the Heart Tribe. There, I once again see countless members of the Heart Tribe. And, quote. Amazing. I click my tongue as I see how many members of the Heart Tribe have already reached the first step before the throne. Some of them are even nearing the enlightenment of the second step before the throne. What's even more surprising is the Bright Cold Martial Alliance. Initially, it was an alliance formed solely by the human race under Kim Jong-un. But now, the Bright Cold Martial Alliance has accepted other races and has become a place to train in martial arts together. A group not for humans, but one that exists for the sake of justice. That is what the Bright Cold Martial Alliance has become. The human race in the alliance have been making many martial arts tailored to the Heart Tribe. Just as martial arts in the Head Realm were originally based on the movements of demon spirits and the cultivation methods of cultivators. They are now devising internal energy methods based on the methods of the Heaven Tribe to strengthen the frail bodies of the Heart Tribe, while also drawing inspiration on the movements of the Earth tribe to elevate the capabilities of the Heart tribe. The human race, once regarded as one of the most wicked races in the bright cold realm, has now become a group within the martial alliance that inherited Kim Jong-un's will and practices righteousness. Single quote. This is good. I merely observe the Heart tribe, looking down from above without interfering. I only leave fragments of the impermanent sword in the heart essences of a select few who show promise, then leave Cedarwood Grove. They are all sincerely devoted to the training of martial arts. For that reason, even if I descend among them to teach, they would all be consumed by suicidal thoughts and rush at me to die. It would be better to simply leave behind the starting point of severing heaven through the impermanent sword. Moreover, even without me, the seeds left by Kim Jong-un have already begun to sprout. His seeds will someday grow into towering trees, forming a forest Wulin of martial arts. There is nothing more for me to do here. Having left my trace in Cedarwood Grove, I make my way to the Azure Heaven Creation Sect for one final visit. The Great Azure Heaven Creation Sect. The sect of Yun Sok, and my sect as well. There, I arrive at the grave of Azure Tiger Saint. Trickle, quote. So he passed during his heavenly tribulation. Advancing to the integration stage is no trivial matter. Even those with talent must temper themselves with life or death resolve and meticulous preparation, or they will perish. That is the integration stage advancement heavenly tribulation. How could a grand perfection 4-axis endure the hundreds of streams of heavenly tribulation descending from all 6 directions? 1,000 years ago, he passed while attempting to advance to the integration stage. 1,000 years before I awakened, Azure Tiger Saint reached the grand perfection 4-axis stage and attempted to advance to the integration stage. Standing before his grave, I read the history lingering over it and pour a drink with a bitter expression. So many connections vanish, progress, and intertwine. In the brief span of 3,000 years, so many events have unfolded. Goodbye, Azure Tiger Saint. After bowing to Azure Tiger Saint, I rise into the sky and head to my final destination in the bright cold realm. Heavenly Lotus Mountain, White Jade Pavilion. Pot. This is the place Sacred Master Baek-woon resides. Taught. As I exert my will, I instantly arrive inside the White Jade Pavilion. Baek-woon trembles as she greets me. The moment this immortal arrived, you very enthusiastically sent signals out beyond the bright cold realm. Sacred Master Baek-woon, quote. Sacred Master Ban-ta has been longing to see Senior. Senior knows, does he not, that even during the Sacred Master days, he followed Senior around. That is probably because I was at the Sacred Vessel stage at the time. Now that I have become a true immortal, I doubt he would even pay me any attention. Quote. Baek-woon, listen, quote. Please give me your command. As a devotee of Radiance Hall, I know you tried to sell me out more than once. Even just 3,000 years ago, the one who called upon the great Sun Heavenly Lord was you, was it not? Quote. If it is this immortal, I could kill you immediately through a prophecy. However, I will show mercy, fulfill one request. What is it? Wo-wang. I summon a list of my past connections and their factions within the bright cold realm and hand it to Baek-woon. Look after them. If you do, I will overlook your insolence. After all, it would be better for you to exchange favors and live at ease than to live while being the target of resentment of an ominous true immortal from the head realm, no. Whether you are a devotee of light or not, this immortal has the ability to hunt and kill at least you. Quote. Will you accept? Baek-woon looks at the list I hand her and sighs before speaking. I shall accept your command. You thought well. With that, I entrust Baek-woon with those remaining in the bright cold realm and leave for the astral realm. Wo-wang, I hear it. It seems Yu-hee's words were not lies. When I focus, I sense Ham-jin calling out my name while focusing on cultivation from afar. I channel my consciousness to Ham-jin, and ask him a question within his subconscious. Ham-jin, if I were to move to another heavenly domain, would you follow me? Ham-jin appears to deliberate over the question rising from his subconscious before soon reaching a conclusion. Gladly. Good. Seeing this, I quickly fly towards the lightning sacred sea. Clang, Wo-wang, Young Sung's split soul. As I throw in the celestial sphere, the great desolate path begins to activate. Golden Shaking Bird enters the interior of the great desolate path with me, and Yu-hee, perhaps having been properly taken care of by Golden Shaking Bird, causes no reaction from the great desolate path. I turn to look at Hong Fan, who is watching me from outside the great desolate path. Well then, I'm off. Hong Fan. Yes, master. When you arrive at the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain, please summon me right away. All right. Then, goodbye. Pop. Hong Fan pops his own head, taking his life. Feeling the attraction force of Yuhi and Ham Jin, who are thinking of me, I kill them both in a single strike. While I directly asked Yuhi, I only questioned Ham Jin through his heart as a small form of punishment. Regardless, Hong Fan and the two of them will now pass through the outskirts of the underworld and resurrect in the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain. Golden Shaking Bird performs a hand sign, and I follow by forming the same hand sign. Well then, shall we be on our way, Elder? Yes, let us depart. Wu Wang. The components of the celestial sphere within the Great Desolate Path begin to rotate, painting the surroundings in thunder and lightning. The will of the Great Desolate Path speaks to me. Where do you wish to go? To the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain. Coo-goo-goo-goo-goo. And with a sensation of violent shaking from the Great Desolate Path. Golden Shaking Bird and I leap across the vast space-time. Chapter 559. Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain. KWAGGGG. An overwhelming lightning tribulation. The interdimensional void of the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain, Middle Realm Zone. One of the 48 Middle Realm Zones of the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain, the Myriad Laws Realm, Wan Fa Jia. There, a crimson blood shark race is undergoing a nascent soul stage advancement tribulation. Kurururung. The golden lightning tribulation madly strikes the entire body of the blood shark race demon beast. Then, at a certain moment, flash, a large crack forms on the forehead of the blood shark race demon beast, and its entire body begins to collapse. And no, the blood shark cries out with despair-filled eyes. I can't die like this. It's unfair, unfair, there are still so many things I haven't accomplished. It's unfair. At that very moment, flash, the lightning tribulation suddenly amplifies. Ah, damn it, for it to amplify at the last moment, is advancing to the nascent soul stage truly this difficult? Just as the blood shark is about to give up on life. From within the amplified lightning tribulation, two shapes burst forth. One is a candle flickering with a fusion of glass-colored flames and aurora light, and the other is a surging river of countless bird heads sparking with lightning. Kua. The blood shark's eyeballs burst. Glass shards protrude from all over their body, and its entire being begins to disintegrate into scattered lightning. It's unfair, as the blood shark is on the verge of annihilation. Suchapititifulthing. Coo-goo-goo-goo-goo. From within the bizarre candle, a powerful will seems to emanate, sending a certain energy toward the blood shark. The blood shark receives this energy and snaps back to their senses. In that instant, the crack on the blood shark's forehead widens further, and from within, a new form of the blood shark emerges. It is a form that has somewhat taken on the shape of a human. Korarararik. The blood shark's original body crumbles into husks, seemingly collapsing, but then moves as if alive and envelops the newly transformed human-like form, becoming her clothing. The once ordinary blood shark race demon beast, Duwa Dowa, now possesses crimson hair, surrounded by a subtle glass-colored flame, and her movements are accompanied by golden lightning flickering across her newly transformed body. KWAGGGG. And with her transformation complete, Duwa finally realizes that the hellish lightning tribulation has ended. Having overcome the lightning tribulation, she has risen to the nascent soul stage. As she begins to well up with tears of deep emotion, her body suddenly trembles. Thank goodness. My apologies. That golden shaking bird, she didn't tell me in advance that we can only move to other heavenly domains within lightning tribulation. We almost made you go insane. Duwa feels a chill of terror as she hears a voice from behind her and turns around. There, she sees a human race individual dressed in white standing before her. This human is only at the Qi refining 7th star. And yet, why is it? Duwa's senses are frantically sounding an alarm. Heaven and earth spiritual energy is. In her demon race vision, the being before her is a being completely devoid of the flow heaven and earth spiritual energy. As if an illusion, the heaven and earth spiritual energy permeates straight through the man in white. Yet, at the same time, the man undoubtedly exists in this world. Well, even so, you've gained something good from staring directly at us. I hope you consider this a blessing in disguise. Warururuk. As the man approaches her, the glass-colored flames flowing along Duwa's hair blaze even brighter. Duwa collapses to the ground in fear. Who are thee? Oh great one. I am not tasty. At most, I am just a low-level nascent soul stage cultivator of the blood shark race. Blood shark race. How delightful, to think there are blood sharks even in the bearing tree heavenly domain. This immortal seems to have a deep connection with the blood shark race. Pardon, when the word, this immortal, escapes the man's lips, Duwa trembles with so much fear she nearly wets herself. Because for someone to refer to themselves as, this immortal, signifies that they are, at the very least, a quasi-immortal of the entering nirvana stage. Still unfamiliar with her transformed body, Duwa hides her jagged teeth and cautiously asks in a respectful tone. If I may ask, Elder, do you have any commands for this humble junior? First, let me explain about us. This immortal is a true immortal who has crossed over from another heavenly domain. I am the crystal glass being Seo Unyun. True immortal. Duwa begins trembling violently at the realization that the old monster before her is a true immortal. Please spare me. I am far too young to return to thee. Do not worry. This immortal does not simply make anyone return to thee, and this immortal is Golden Shaking Bird. Seo Unyun reassures Duwa as he reaches out towards the empty void, as though introducing someone. But Duwa sees nothing, and she can only look on in confusion. At that moment, Seo Unyun scratches his head awkwardly as if hearing something from someone beside him. Ah, my mistake. Because of the difference in planes, you cannot perceive her. The immortal named Golden Shaking Bird is also a true immortal, but unlike me, is unable to easily interfere with lower planes. Since she currently resides in the true immortal plane, it seems you are unable to recognize her. Pardon, Duwa finds it difficult to follow Seo Unyun's words. She cannot understand why an old monster, a true immortal no less, would go out of his way to explain things so kindly to someone like her, a mere nascent soul demon beast. The true immortals she knows are monsters who would typically flood their target with wisdom, vaguely explain the situation, take control of lower realm beings like puppets without asking for consent, and discard them once they were no longer useful. Rather, this kind of considerate behavior only makes it more terrifying because she cannot predict his intentions. Just why is he doing this to me? While she struggles in thought, he speaks again. There is something I wish to request of you. Will you accept my request? Why yes. Please speak, Elder. Terrified, Duwa slams her head to the ground. Though he calls it a request, there is no way she can refuse a request from a true immortal. In that case, wouldn't it be better to devote herself fully from the start? Seeing her reaction, Seo Unyun looks slightly apologetic as he explains. To be honest, while this immortal is fine, my companion, Golden Shaking Bird, has neither a foundation, followers, nor immortal treasures here in the Bearing Tree heavenly domain, which makes it a bit inconvenient to operate in the lower realm. So, would you be willing to become a devotee of Golden Shaking Bird and assist temporarily? I will ensure you are well rewarded. Pardon, a devotee, what does that mean? Just when she expresses her confusion. Pajijijijik. Ah, ah. Powerful lightning engulfs her. At the same time, she collapses on the spot, groaning in agony. The last thing Duwa remembers is the realization that a powerful being is descending using her body as a medium. I narrow my eyes as I look at the blood shark race demon beast lying before me. Pajik, Pajijijijik. The blood shark race demon beast writhes in pain as golden lightning engulfs her, before her transformation body begins to change. Having transformed into the human form of Golden Shaking Bird, she brushes off her body and looks herself over. If it had been a bird demon beast, that would have been ideal. Unfortunately, it's a blood shark race demon beast. Well, it can't be helped. Even though it's only at the nascent soul stage, I can raise its realm to a suitable level. Hey, Golden Shaking Bird. What is it, Elder? I look at her with a slightly displeased expression. I was taken aback when I heard about moving through lightning tribulations, but to think she'd snatch someone else's body so quickly like this. Why did you take over that child's body without permission? I was in the process of obtaining her consent. Elder, just why would we need to seek consent or introduce ourselves to a mere nascent soul creature? Rather, after borrowing her body for a while and raising her realm to at least the 4-axis stage, she'd be so grateful that she'll cry and willingly service my feet. That is true, but no matter what you plan to do for them, later, make sure to obtain consent first. You're so strict. Fine, I'll meet this one's consciousness later and obtain her consent. There's no need for that. I place my hand on Golden Shaking Bird's head. Using the impermanence sword, I connect to the blood shark race demon beast spirit and pull her spirit as a form of consciousness. The blood shark race demon beast regains her senses and collapses to the ground, trembling in fear as if realizing what just happened. Inside my body, a true immortal revived, and I've been replaced. I'm going to die. Calm yourself. Wo Wang. I forcibly stabilize her mind through a blessing incantation, and explain the situation while sharing a brief conversation. Quote. For these reasons, we need to borrow your body. Golden Shaking Bird will use it for a few decades and then return it. Your realm can be raised to the 4-axis stage. Of course, not only the 4-axis stage, it could be raised past the Grand Perfection Integration stage and reach a level above the Integration stage, but you would not be able to handle your own body, so we will raise it only to around the 4-axis stage. What do you say? Hearing my explanation, the blood shark race demon beast who introduces herself as Du-Hu, begins to cry and prostrates herself at my feet, kissing them. Thank you, true immortal elder. Not making me return to thee but even raising me to the 4-axis stage. I will gladly offer my body with utmost sincerity. Good. Now then, I have some questions for you, so answer honestly. Yes, elder. What would you like to know? First, where exactly are we within the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain? What is the culture here like? How many devotees of light are there? And have you heard anything about a cultivator emitting red lightning recently? Yes, I will explain everything one by one. I managed to get a general overview about the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain from Duwa. First, the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain has an overwhelmingly large number of decaying corpse realms. The number of decaying corpse realms alone counts 600 quadrillion. As for the middle realms, there are 48 of them. Moreover, there are even a few great net immortals dispatched from Radiance Hall, effectively bringing the number of middle realms to over 50. I do not know if our universe is called the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain. But in any case, our universe is governed by the faction of light known as the Radiance Hall. Because of this, the number of devotees who worship the light here is no small number. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that 1/10 of our universe's population are devotees of light. Especially among the Heaven tribe, the majority are devotees of light. However, among us Earth tribe, there aren't as many devotees. I see. Are there many of the Heaven tribe in this world? The ratio of Heaven tribe to Earth tribe is approximately 1 to 20 or 30. The Earth tribe overwhelmingly outnumbers the Heaven tribe, but the Heaven tribe receives backing from the true immortals of Radiance Hall, learning methods that borrow their authorities. So despite their smaller numbers, their overall power isn't significantly inferior to the Earth tribe. This applies not only to our middle realm but to the entire universe. Duwa teaches me about the culture and common knowledge of the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain, as well as various other things. And, about the cultivator who emits red lightning, I am not too sure. Since learning the lightning path method is prohibited in the Bearing Tree Heavenly Domain, if such a cultivator existed, the news would have spread immediately. Of course, it might simply be because my realm is too low to know about such things, but, one of the middle realms neighboring us, the Divine Thunder Realm, Xian Lei Jia, recently lost its sacred master. There is a rumor that red lightning struck the spot where the sacred master passed away. I see. That is sufficient information. I nod and commend her. After gathering a bit more information, I once again seek her consent before pushing her consciousness deep into her unconsciousness. Pagic. As her mind sinks deep into her unconsciousness, the consciousness of Golden Shaking Bird surfaces, and she frowns. You really handle things in a bothersome manner. It would be much simpler to just tear out her soul and browse through the information. Maybe if it were someone as vile as Yohi. But there's no need to treat an innocent demon race in such a way, is there? I already miss my master. To think I've fallen from the lightning tribulation of a mere nascent soul-level creature. With the standard of the Great Desolate Path, it shouldn't have been a lightning tribulation of a nascent soul stage creature but a star-shattering stage, or at least the integration stage. We could have obtained a much better body or devotee if it were beings of that level. For it to be merely a nascent soul stage means Elder must currently be carrying some form of misfortune. Is there anything that comes to mind? Misfortune. I recall the celestial sphere I received from Young Song. So even after becoming a true immortal, it still applies that gifts from true immortals bring misfortune. Well, this is why I was afraid, resulting in the naming Supreme Deity making a deal. But I let out a small sigh of relief. Still, it's fortunate, for the misfortune I received from Young Song to only be this much. Gifts received from true immortals always become misfortune. However, now that I've become a true immortal, it seems the misfortune I receive has diminished. The closer the gap in realm between me and the giver, the weaker the misfortune I receive seems to become. If I continue raising my realm, someday I might even be able to properly accept gifts. Contemplating this newfound fact, I speak. It seems there was some misfortune I overlooked. My apologies. HMPH. If it were my master, he would have prepared plenty of sacrificial offerings to ward off the misfortune, preventing such problems in the first place. Let's hurry and find my master. Let's do that. Wo Wang. I draw in the heaven and earth spiritual energy of the myriad laws realm, raising my cultivation realm. In an instant, my realm surges from the chi refining 7th star to the grand perfection heavenly being stage. Golden shaking bird also quickly raises Dua's realm to the grand perfection heavenly being stage. Heavenly tribulation rumbles, but as golden shaking bird takes a breath, the entire cloud of the heavenly tribulation is absorbed into her body and vanishes. For now, we should head to the divine thunder realm, but how should we find it? Should I meet an integration grand cultivator to ask? If you're going to ask, it'd be better to find the sacred master of the myriad laws realm and interrogate them. Please stop saying such soft things. And, I've been to the bearing tree heavenly domain before, so just follow me. Keying. Under the will of golden shaking bird, the power of celestial energy guidance radiating from Dua's body intensifies. At a certain point, the celestial energy guidance transforms into attraction force, twisting the surrounding space. I also strengthen my celestial energy guidance into attraction force, distorting the dimension of the myriad laws realm. Kijijijik. We open a dimensional gate and step out of the myriad laws realm. As soon as I emerge into the interdimensional void of the bearing tree heavenly domain, I narrow my eyes. How gruesome! Throughout the interdimensional void lies the corpses of countless true immortals. The corpses of true immortals, riddled with holes, are the most common sight. There are true immortals that have gigantic trees or flowers blooming from their bodies. There are true immortals that are roasted or melted by flames. There are true immortals sliced apart by sharp blades. There are true immortals bloated with something resembling water, dead, swollen, or frozen solid. The corpses of innumerable true immortals are scattered across the interdimensional void. Faced with such a gruesome sight, I let out a heavy sigh. However, golden shaking bird doesn't pay them much attention, pointing to a middle realm in the distance. It is the corpse of a true immortal with something long impaled in its stomach. That object looks like a ruler, a sword, or perhaps the hilt of a glaive. Although it is unclear exactly what it is, the energy emanating from it feels identical, suggesting it may have been the true immortal's own immortal treasure during their lifetime. The true immortal bears the scars of being sliced all over their body by a sword, and golden shaking bird gestures toward the body. That is the divine thunder realm. Let us head over there. Golden shaking bird. Joining strengths with her, we fly towards the divine thunder realm using attraction force while I ask her. What in the world is this horrifying scene? Why are there so many middle realms and decaying corpse realms in the bearing tree heavenly domain? Well, you must have already realized by now. Middle realms and decaying corpse realms are all corpses of true immortals. This is the result of the supreme deity who opposed Radiance Hall long ago and the true immortals who followed them. The supreme deity, who opposed Radiance Hall. Isn't it obvious? The heavenly punishment supreme deity, Dugon. This bearing tree heavenly domain used to be the heavenly domain of the heavenly punishment supreme deity. However, after it was revealed that they harbored rebellious intent towards the rule of Radiance Hall, the Radiance 8 immortals acted personally. They imprisoned the heavenly punishment supreme deity, slaughtered all 48 great immortals under their command to the point that they couldn't even be resurrected, turned them into middle realms, and incorporated the bearing tree heavenly domain under the direct control of Radiance Hall. I ask in a trembling voice. By great immortal, do you mean great net immortal? Not necessarily. The beginning of the immortal family is the entering nirvana stage quasi-immortal. Beyond the quasi-immortal, those of, at least, a vestige liberation immortal are called true immortals. Those of, at least, heaven earth upper immortal are called upper immortals. Those of, at least, great net immortal are called great immortals. From immortal lords and governing immortals onwards, there are barely 100 across the entire 3,000 great thousand words, so they are typically addressed by their titles. In short, the corpses of the true immortals lying here consist of not only great net immortals but also include many corpses of heavenly lords and true lords, who are beyond the realm of great net immortals. The heavenly punishment supreme deity, who cried after all their subordinates were killed, only had their immortal treasure, the heavenly lightning banner left, but, even that was later stolen by my master and embedded in the head realm. Isn't my master simply magnificent? Ha ha ha, Elder should have seen the reaction of the heavenly punishment supreme deity when their immortal treasure was kidnapped by my master. Quote. Golden shaking bird becomes ecstatic recounting Yang Su Jin's tale, while I click my tongue bitterly at the overwhelming power of Radiance Hall. Is this the power of the light faction? A pinnacle of tyranny, annihilating anyone who refuses to submit to their will. And now, we are being pursued by such beings. Though I'm managing to evade them using the immortal title of Crystal Glass Being, how will the others be faring? Wo Wang, crossing the interdimensional void, Golden Shaking Bird and I enter the middle realm known as the Divine Thunder Realm. Pajijijijik. Upon entering the Divine Thunder Realm, we immediately react to the sharp static electricity filling the area. Golden Shaking Bird's eyes roll halfway back. This is the Red Lightning Heavenly Tribulation Method. Master, it's Master's aura. She flares her nostrils, wearing an ecstatic expression as though she's about to inhale the static electricity, and stares somewhere into the distance. The east of the Divine Thunder Realm. As I look east, I sense through the foresight of a true immortal that heading there will lead me to Jaeon Myung-hoon. Out of the countless futures, only the ones where I head east can I meet Jaeon Myung-hoon. The new sense I gained after becoming a true immortal is truly mysterious. In my eyes, who seized control of the plane of fate, the future appears like countless grains of sand scattered across the ground. I feel as if I can now cross over to any point I desire within those countless scenes. Back during the Sacred Vessel stage, this ability was limited to within the middle realm, but now, it's possible from anywhere. The act of selecting and solidifying one of the countless possibilities of the future, that is what is called prophecy. But it's a little strange. I suddenly feel uneasy. After becoming a Vestige Liberation Immortal, I gained the ability to use prophecy. But, back during the entering Nirvana stage, I used powers like the Phenomena Extinguishing Mantra, filling the heavens governing view, canvas of myriad forms and connections, and more, mobilizing all my strength to wield the authority of the immortal art, history revision. At the time, I vaguely thought that becoming a true immortal would make prophecy and history revision easy. Why is it that after becoming a Vestige Liberation Immortal, although my vision of the planes of Chi, Soul, and Fate have been strengthened, I can only use prophecy? I clearly rose to true immortality through heaven and earth dual cultivation and severing heaven, becoming a true immortal through the three great ultimates. Thinking about it now, it feels quite strange. Just then, my master, Pajijik, Golden Shaking Bird begins to emit lightning and quickly flies east, leaving me behind. As I start to chase after her, I suddenly realize that my cultivation realm has fallen once again. Chijijijik, damn it, this is so bothersome. While obtaining a fortuitous encounter in the head realm, I had managed to partially escape the restrictions of the Northern Dipper Sealing Immortal Flag. I had slightly broken free of the Chi Refining 7th Star restriction. But that restriction isn't entirely lifted. Even after gathering energy up to the Heavenly Being stage, over time, my cultivation will drop back down to the 7th star of the Chi Refining stage. To recover up to the Heavenly Being stage, I have to gather spiritual energy from heaven and earth again. No, wait, do I really need to bother with this hassle? This is why I got immortal treasures. Wo Wang, I retrieve, Yohi, refined as my immortal treasure, from within my body. Yohi seems to have been excellently refined by Golden Shaking Bird during this time. Clang, clang, black chains coil around the area. At each end of the chains are ornaments resembling a bird's skull and a human skull, while the body of the chain is dyed as dark as the night. This immortal's immortal treasure, twin constructing chains, Shuang Zhao Suo, heed my command. Quareric, at my will, Yohi, refined into the immortal treasure twin construction chains, trembles. Clang. Soon, the chains of the twin constructing chains gather before me, writhing as they take the shape of a human. What appears as Yohi, draped in a black robe with chains dangling all over her body. She trembles and laughs with an expression that looks somewhat deranged, muttering, hee hee. Spread your wings, Yohi. We're heading east, after Golden Shaking Bird. It's when the name, Golden Shaking Bird, escapes my lips. Her eyes roll back until they are completely white. Her body trembles violently, and she immediately transforms into the form of a pung. I am sorry, Miss Golden Shaking Bird. I was wrong. Please forgive me, Miss Golden Shaking Bird. I apologize for killing the disciples of the Blackbird True Star sect in the past. I am nothing but a worthless, garbage immortal treasure. Miss Golden Shaking Bird, please forgive me. Let's just go east. I climb onto Yohi's back as she carries me eastward and speak. And I'm not Golden Shaking Bird, but your master, Yohi. Remember this well. Hyuk, I am sorry, Miss Golden Shaking Bird. It is my fault. Everything is my fault. I am nothing more than a worthless sparrow flapping its wings. No, I am an immortal treasure even less than a bug. Please, do not be angry. Quote. It seems that leaving her refinement to Golden Shaking Bird has left her somewhat unstable. Well, considering she was an evil deity whom Golden Shaking Bird had a personal grudge against, there's no need for sympathy. From what Golden Shaking Bird told me, Yohi was an evil deity who, regardless of gender, obsessively indulged in lust and cared nothing for the lives of mortals. Perhaps this is simply retribution. In the past, even the Sacred Vessel Sisters condemned her as vile, and not long ago, she harbored impure thoughts and tried to betray me. So, I decide to simply leave it is. In any case, I quickly ride on Yohi, chasing after Golden Shaking Bird. After pursuing her for a while, Golden Shaking Bird finally appears in Yohi's sight, causing her to tremble even more and repeatedly mutter, "I was wrong." Golden Shaking Bird glances back at us, then stops her flight and flies to my side, landing on Yohi's back with me. Well, in our current state, it seems immortal treasures are indeed faster. Let's travel together. That aside, shut up, twin constructing chains. You're incredibly noisy. Hyuk. With just a single remark from Golden Shaking Bird, Yohi immediately clamps her mouth shut. I look at Golden Shaking Bird and speak. By the way, she calls me Miss Golden Shaking Bird, even after seeing me. No matter what, it should at least have the sense to recognize her owner. Haven't you broken her too much? Ah, my apologies, Elder. If you leave it to me, I will retrain it and restore its intelligence. Please do. We move to the eastern edge of the Divine Thunder Realm and sit down for a moment. I glance at the refined Yohi and ask Golden Shaking Bird. That aside, while it's convenient in the lower realm, why do other true immortals, who are not sealed like me, use immortal treasures? I can't understand it. Ahaha, that's because Elder's immortal art is unique. First of all, does Elder know why true immortals cannot descend freely into the lower realm? I know the gist of it. Why is it that, after becoming true immortals who have transcended the three planes, are our actions even more restricted than before? The reason is quite simple. If the three planes are considered a painting, then we are beings who have transcended the painting. A being within the painting could have freely roamed within it. But now, having completely left the painting, if the being tries to reach their hand back into it, the painting would tear apart. In other words, if a true immortal recklessly tries to descend into the lower realm, one of two outcomes will occur. Either the area where the true immortal descends is annihilated entirely along with space itself, or the true immortal is repelled while descending. Beings of at least the great immortal level are free from such restrictions, but, for ordinary true immortals, controlling this is nearly impossible. Rather, it is Elder who is weird for being able to freely enter and exit the painting. Of course, to be honest, the painting, tearing, is the normal result. If a human sticks their hand into a painting, what painting would push the human out? Normally, it would just tear. So, when a true immortal gets repelled while trying to descend into the lower realm, it is usually for another reason. What is it? The owner of the heavenly domain, the governing immortal. Their power protects the heavenly domain, which prevents ordinary true immortals from recklessly descending. Therefore, to exert influence in the heavenly domain, true immortals sever a much lower ranked split soul and descend it to the lower realm. As she continues speaking, I begin to grasp the concept of immortal treasures. The split soul, compared to the authority of the true immortal, is akin to a mere drop of blood blending into the painting, becoming part of it. When this split soul descends into the lower realm, enters the painting, delivers the true immortal's prophecy, and is granted a physical body, that is what we call an immortal treasure. I see. So, all immortal treasures are ultimately agents of true immortals, like apostles. One could say so. A split soul refined for exerting influence in the lower realm. And since this split soul can shatter the fate of other true immortals that have descended to the lower realm, attacking them, it becomes both a weapon and a dharma treasure. This is why, since ancient times, true immortals have referred to their apostles as immortal treasures. I recall Zhengli, the one who called herself the agent of the heavenly punishment supreme deity. So she really was an agent in the truest sense. But then, why not use their own split soul instead of capturing sacred vessels to turn them into immortal treasures? An immortal treasure created from a true immortal's split soul usually returns to the true immortal after fulfilling the prophecy it was sent for. Once a prophecy is completed, its function as an immortal treasure disappears. To maintain the immortal treasure, the true immortal would need to keep making prophecies, but what kind of true immortal would welcome such a troublesome task? Sacred vessels are already beings that have become flow itself. If you capture one and connect its flow to your own body, the sacred vessel can act as the sacred master of the true immortal's internal world and can continue cultivating. Furthermore, they can fulfill tasks in the lower realm by giving a revelation instead of having to constantly make prophecies. Because of this, many true immortals capture sacred vessels and use them as immortal treasures. She seems to search for a fitting analogy and then explains it in a simple way. For example, it's similar to how cultivators of ghost path sects capture spirits and refine them into ghost souls to enslave them. Even if an integration stage ghost path cultivator refines a refining void dharma treasure to make a powerful weapon, that refining void dharma treasure would only perform its intended function. On the other hand, if they extract the spirit of a suitable junior and refine it into a ghost soul, it will perform tasks on its own and can also be used as a weapon in emergencies. Why wouldn't they use it? Hearing those words, I feel a bit uneasy about the concept of immortal treasures themselves. If you look at it as something gained by sacrificing others, it's similar to chi-building pills. The advantage is, at least the sacred vessel turned into an immortal treasure gains a powerful backer and can cultivate well as an immortal treasure. But if the true immortal using the sacred vessel as an immortal treasure harbors ill intentions, the sacred vessel would be unable to escape and would literally become an eternal plaything, subject to endless abuse under the true immortal. This is the true nature of immortal treasures. Yohi. This poor Yohi. During her immortal treasure transformation, I briefly transferred the refinement authority to Golden Shaking Bird, leaving her defenseless and subject to abuse. No, wait, if it's according to what Golden Shaking Bird said, why did she capture the sacred vessel sisters and refine them into immortal treasures? Their immortal arts are powerful, but not to the point of being useful as immortal treasures are to true immortals. Suddenly, a memory resurfaces of the sisters referring to Yohi as vile. The sisters' immortal arts were strong, and their appearances matched her tastes, so she captured them, refined them into immortal treasures to render them incapable of resistance, and I see. Come to think of it, she's not as pitiful as I thought. Golden Shaking Bird, I ask that you properly educate Yohi in the future. I will make sure to educate her thoroughly. Please do not worry. That aside, that is not an individual entity but Elder's immortal treasure, so it's only proper to address it clearly by the name, Twin Constructing Chains. Yohi sheds tears as she listens to the conversation between Golden Shaking Bird and me, and we finally arrive at the eastern edge of the Divine Thunder Realm. The eastern end of the Divine Lightning Realm, in the Chaos Realm region. There, I spot a small hut beneath crimson thunderclouds spilling red lightning. Quarararik. I lightly slap Yohi's body, and she reverts to the form of chains, returning to my body and leaving us floating in the void. Golden Shaking Bird, inhabiting Duwa's body, quickly descends and lands in front of the hut below. Perhaps sensing our presence, someone inside the hut opens the door and steps out. It is a man with long hair and wearing a golden robe, tenderly stroking the crispy fried hand of Sohei. It is Jaeon Myung-hoon. To the eyes of us, who have transcended the three planes, Jaeon Myung-hoon's fate becomes visible. In the plane of fate, his fate glows with a red light as vivid as blood. The moment we confirm his fate, Golden Shaking Bird bursts into tears and rushes towards Jaeon Myung-hoon. Jaeon Myung-hoon tries to evade her in panic, but since his realm is still lower than ours, he cannot resist Golden Shaking Bird's prophecy. Please, hold me, master. Pawak. She throws herself into Jaeon Myung-hoon's arms and cries like a child. It's a cry filled with 120,000 years of resentment. Watching this, I feel a complicated mix of emotions as I slowly descend from the sky. It's been a while, Jaeon Myung-hoon. No. The eyes of Jaeon Myung-hoon, who perceives me, shrink tightly. Pbobong. Jaeon Myung-hoon has begun his true immortal advancement. Chapter 560. Earth Immortal 1. I am not a fool. Therefore, I have naturally considered the possibility that any existence at the sacred vessel stage or entering nirvana stage would immediately begin their true immortal advancement the moment they behold my main body. Moreover, I have already conducted trials in advance, such as infusing wisdom into individuals like Yeon Jin and Yu Ryan or demonstrating my power in front of Baekwoon and Yohi. These trials involved determining how much rank I could reveal to individuals at certain realms of cultivation before it becomes overwhelming for them to endure. Of course, I also took into account the possibility that Jaeon Myung-hoon and the others might have risen to the entering nirvana stage, which is why I understood the risk of them dying if I appeared directly before them. That is why I gave help to others and received help in return, conducting experiments to some extent. As a result of these experiments with Yohee, Baek-woon, and others, I determined that exposing a body at the chi refining 7th star level that I sent down to the lower realm would not affect my comrades even if they reached the entering nirvana stage. Only after reaching this conclusion did I choose to reveal myself. Youuu. Seoeun, Hyun. Golden shaking bird's eyes go mad as she charges towards me. On the plane of true immortality, a river of bird heads encircles me, unleashing a relentless barrage of lightning strikes. Stay still for a moment. Quiraring. But this is not the lower realm where my power is constrained, but in the true immortal plane, where I can fully unleash my power. There is no reason for me to lose. I seize the essence of golden shaking bird in one go and forcefully seal her into her transformation form, gripping her by the neck. Gook. Krrrk. Thud. Hit by the impermanent sword, she is sealed within Duwa's body and glares at me with tears streaming down her face. You, to my master. My master. Quiet down and look around. It's not entirely my fault. Kugugek. I tighten my grip on golden shaking bird's neck, applying even more pressure. The whites of her eyes gradually become visible, and as golden shaking bird fails to draw in spiritual energy or breathe, she begins to froth at the mouth. Shifting my gaze away from her, I turn to the spot where Jaeon Myung-hoon began his advancement. Kugugugugu. The shed flesh of Jaeon Myung-hoon, who was forced to confront death by me, begins to swell. Simultaneously, his flesh transforms into a vestige and starts wailing. Kua. The vestige with 6 arms and 3 heads howls like mad as it loses its original form. Normally, the sacred master of the middle realm would expel Jaeon Myung-hoon's vestige out of the middle realm and into the interdimensional void, but the sacred master of this middle realm called the divine thunder realm does not respond. Did they say Jaeon Myung-hoon killed them? TCH. It seems the successor sacred master hasn't been picked yet. Or perhaps they are in the process of reviving. For now, to prevent the entering nirvana vestige from wreaking havoc on middle realm, I summon Yohee. Accept my command, twin constructing chains. Restrain the newly born vestige of Jaeon Myung-hoon. Clink. Korururuk. Responding to my command, Yohee appears in the form of chains before growing huge and flying forward to restrain the distorting entering nirvana level vestige. Kua. Jaeon Myung-hoon's vestige screams, attempting to break free from the twin constructing chains. However, the chains instead absorb the power of the vestige, converting and accumulating it at both ends. The immortal art created by Yohee when she became a true person is twin constructing twin destruction Shuang Zhao Shuang Mie. Consuming heaven and earth's spiritual energy to create antimatter, which then causes mutual destruction is her immortal art. The ability of the twin constructing chains, which were refined by such a being, is to bind the target, absorb the power they exert to break free, and use it to generate both antimatter and matter. At both ends of the twin constructing chains, the bird's skull at one end begins to glow, emitting transparent glass true fire. Simultaneously, the human skull at the opposite end shines, generating and storing antimatter within. Since I refined it, the part that creates matter releases glass true fire, making it capable of torturing the bound opponent. Warurururuk. Kia. Jaeon Myung-hoon's vestige writhes in agony as the glass true fire engulfs it, screaming violently before losing consciousness and fainting. Kwaggggg. As the vestige faints, lightning bursts out around it, but the twin constructing chains, having absorbed some of golden shaking bird's power, also absorbs the lightning. It restrains the opponent, devours the energy they exert in trying to break free, generates glass true fire and antimatter, and stores and releases them to torture the restrained target. Additionally, by absorbing and generating lightning, it can electrocute its victim, functioning as a Dharma treasure designed for binding and torturing. That is the twin constructing chains. In emergencies, the accumulated antimatter can also be used to attack the enemy, making the twin constructing chains a highly versatile immortal treasure. Clang, clang, clang. The twin constructing chains completely enclose and seal Jaeon Myung-hoon's fainted vestige. Watching this, I ponder my thoughts. For Jaeon Myung-hoon to suddenly advance to true immortality just by looking at me, is absurd. I'm only at the chi refining 7th star level. Injecting wisdom into and entering nirvana is absurd. I didn't even intentionally reveal my rank. Rather, I deliberately suppressed it. There's no way this should have happened. More than that, I focus on Jaeon Myung-hoon's fate. Ever since reaching the entering nirvana stage, observing someone's fate directly has become no longer difficult. After observing his fate for a while, I finally understand. So that's it. An ender can only receive misfortune from a true immortal. I witness the black misfortune entangled like clouds around his red fate. While it's true that looking at me triggered his advancement, the cause lies with you. What's the point of baring your teeth at me? I grip the golden shaking bird's neck tighter, turning my gaze back to Jaeon Myung-hoon. That's right. Regardless of the circumstances, a true immortal is still a true immortal. Golden shaking bird followed me here to be together with Jaeon Myung-hoon as a companion. That alone was treated as a gift for Jaeon Myung-hoon, and that gift turned entirely into misfortune. Look at the cloud of misfortune. That cloud is connected to you. Gook, Gurk. During the time of the Golden Divine was stronger than you, so receiving your help didn't cause any issues. But now, it's different. Because Jaeon Myung-hoon is weaker than you, all he can receive from you is misfortune. The misfortune surrounding Jaeon Myung-hoon's fate originates entirely from Golden Shaking Bird. It has no connection to me, so even if an ender becomes a true immortal, they don't spread misfortune to one another. Well, it makes sense. If they did, every opportunity obtained from previous generation of enders would have been accompanied by catastrophic misfortune. The benefits he gained by being together with you itself became misfortune, leading to the Jaeon Myung-hoon, who would normally remain unaffected by seeing me, coincidentally, see the seal of the Northern Dipper sealing immortal flag. Through that gap, he, coincidentally, gazed upon my true body, coincidentally, witnessed death within it, and, coincidentally, failed to control himself, forcing his immediate true immortal advancement. Wo Wang, reading the history within the heaven and earth spiritual energy, I comprehend the whole story. Listen carefully, Golden Shaking Bird. While I am hesitant to give the exact information, Jaeon Myung-hoon and I come from the same homeland as Yongsu Jin. All the people from there can only receive misfortune from true immortals. Kirk, Gurk, that misfortune grows stronger the greater the gap in cultivation. However, because of the absolute disparity between the entering nirvana stage and true immortality, even minor misfortune seems to have an amplified effect. If Jaeon Myung-hoon successfully advances to true immortality, he'll be fine. However, if you meet my other comrades in the future, do not approach recklessly or try to give them anything. Understand? I release Golden Shaking Bird's neck and gaze at Jaeon Myung-hoon's fate. For now, him seeing you caused misfortune, so it's highly likely that Jaeon Myung-hoon will fail his true immortal advancement. Wo Wang, I draw the impermanence sword and speak. So, being someone from the same homeland, whose help would cause no problems. I'll be back after briefly assisting him. Keying, the impermanence sword, what my heart symbolizes, which began as the formless sword, is freedom. Thus, it can move through any plane or dimension. Wherever the impermanence sword can reach, I can go. Wo Wang, I follow Jaeon Myung-hoon's fate. The interdimensional void, the source river, the eastern heaven flower field, the underworld, where is it? Where is it there? Jaeon Myung-hoon's fate is heading to the underworld. And from deep within the underworld, the oldest one's will is reaching out towards Jaeon Myung-hoon. Keying, I channel my soul into the impermanence sword and, sitting in a lotus position at that spot, cross the boundary of the underworld. Wo Wang, the only times I entered the underworld was when I learned the ghost path method and used nether perception to cross the outskirts of the underworld. And while attempting to step foot into the domain of purity, I was intercepted by the heavenly venerable of the underworld and immediately sent from the interdimensional void to the deepest depths of the underworld. For that reason, this time, crossing the outskirts to the true domain of the underworld is essentially my first time. Cooing, as I cross the boundary of the underworld, all light disappears. An eternal, unblemished darkness. In this darkness, the only way to perceive the surroundings is through scent. In truth, not all beings possess organs like eyes. There are many beings in this world who perceive not through light, but through sound, scent, touch, and other senses. I feel as though I have become one of those beings. Not only scent, but sound and touch gradually become perceptible to me. It is when all senses, except sight, are felt. I feel as if I am reaching the nascent soul stage. No, to be precise, should I say the nascent soul stage seems to replicate this sensation, a flashback. As I sense the vibrations around me, my life flashes before my eyes. The entirety of my life. The entire history stored within the canvas of myriad forms and connections brushes through my mind. A taiji seems to appear before my eyes. As it spins rapidly, it forms a helix luo-zan, and through that helix, all of my regressions and history flashes past me. But unlike during my nascent soul advancement, it does not pass by quickly. Rather, like the canvas of myriad forms and connections, it flows past very slowly, allowing me to revisit the scenes I wish to see again. However, instead of viewing these histories, I focus my consciousness on the center of the helix. At the center of that helix, a certain being is watching me. Wang. As I concentrate my consciousness on the center of the helix, it transforms into a ripple. Something like a shimmering mirage. An endlessly vast wave. That vibration soon seems to manifest as heat, turning into flames that engulf the surroundings. Goo. Before I know it, I find myself in a place entirely engulfed in flames. In front of me stands a massive giant god engulfed in flames. The giant god wears a crown and is dressed in a judge's robe. The seat upon which the giant god sits is a colossal blade mountain, but the giant god's sheer size makes even the mountain feel as small as a cushion. On both sides of me, countless ghost kings, yakshas, rikshasas, and asuras stand in neat rows, staring at me. Beyond these monsters lies a seemingly endless valley of blade mountains, filled with countless souls wandering in agony, bleeding as they stumble through the valley of blades. I chuckle at the strangely familiar scene and bow towards the giant god before me. I learned this back in the Black Ghost Valley. About the 10 underworld kings who govern the underworld. This mere immortal Seo Un-yun greets the killing judge of the underworld 10 kings, the Blade Mountain True Lord, Your Majesty Qin Guang. Warurururuk. The Blade Mountain True Lord, Qin Guang, gazes at me for a moment before speaking. All tribunals, leave for now. Pot. At that decree, the yakshas, rikshasas, asuras, and ghost kings surrounding me vanish in an instant. Now, only Great King Qin Guang and I remain in this judgment hall of the flame-covered Blade Mountain. Does the Great King have something to say to me? At my words, Great King Qin Guang remains silent for a moment before speaking. How is it? The underworld. It is unique. And this? I glance at the fire illuminating the surroundings and murmur softly. The sky of the underworld is dark, and in places without flames, it is so black that one cannot see an inch ahead. However, wherever the flames burn is bright. Is this not light? I thought this would be a world of complete darkness, but it seems that's not the case. Nothing can escape light. That is why Radiance Hall governs life. However, nothing is absolute except for the 3 laws. No matter how mighty light is, it cannot escape the changes caused by differences in interpretation. Warurururuk. Flames rise above Great King Qin Guang's hand. The forces that symbolize Radiance Hall and life interpret light as particles. It is the perspective that everything can be explained, and nothing can escape form. However, we interpret light as waves. Wo Wang. It distorts. My vision blurs, and a shimmering haze seems to envelop the surroundings. Some things cannot be explained, and there are no absolutes. Form may not exist, and it does not have to be continuous. That is the wave. Thus, even if one cannot see in the underworld, it is possible to hear, smell, touch, and taste, in other words, receive. Signals. Warurururuk. Waves are also heat. That is why we inevitably use fire. The karmic fire of the previous chief judge, the speech fire Yanhuo of the current chief judge, and even the killing fire Shahuo that this king wields all are born from the same principle. I finally understand why the judges primarily use fire. And I feel something strange. Somehow, it sounds as though the judges of the underworld wield the power of light. That is correct. Originally, the very first seat was the origin essence of light. Only one existed. Quote ... exclamation mark. Quote. After the very first origin essence, countless beings rose through the path of the heavens, interpreting light in their own ways and dividing it amongst themselves. That is how the numerous origin essences of today came to be. Even our Lord, the Imperial Venerable, is said to have been born after Radiance Hall itself, which speaks volumes about the history and power of the Radiance Hall. That, I ask with a stunned expression. I do not know why Great King Qin Guang is telling me this, but I decide it is best to ask while I have the chance. Then, why is the Imperial Venerable called the oldest one? According to what the Great King said, isn't the oldest existence the Radiance Supreme Deity? What is important is continuity. Suppose you plant a seed, let it sprout, and nurture it into a tree for 100 years. Then, you take the fruit from that tree, remove its seeds, plant them in the ground, burn the previous tree, and nurture the new one for another 100 years. Is the age of that tree 100 years or 200 years? I do not understand what you mean. The origin essences under the Imperial Venerables grasp total 14. Including the one the Imperial Venerable seized control of, it is 15 in total. Those seeds have accompanied the Imperial Venerable for a long time and have been referred to as the Imperial Venerable and the Dharma Kings who protect the Imperial Venerable. But those Dharma Kings are not all the same beings. This king, too, inherited my seat from a predecessor. And, just like the underworld, Radiance Hall is the same. They, too, inherit the seats over time. Thus, while Radiance Hall may be the oldest force, the oldest entity is the Imperial Venerable. Great King Qin Guang speaks ambiguously while extinguishing the flame burning in their palm. Is it not interesting that light can divide into everything depending on interpretation? If dividing based on interpretation, and merging again based on interpretation is the seat of light, have you ever considered that? As my knowledge is limited, I struggle to follow what the Great King is saying. Please enlighten me. In the end, all things can never escape the gaze of light. If everything was originally light, even the underworld, that is said to be untouched by light, cannot truly escape the domain of light. In fact, during the era when the Radiance 8 Immortals were the Radiance 10 Heavenly Lords, the Radiance Hall appeared nearly omniscient. Radiance 10 Heavenly Lords. I tilt my head at the unfamiliar term but shudder from a chill at Great King Qin Guang's subsequent words. Then what do you think could be the method to transcend light? If being unable to escape no matter what means is the authority of the first seat, is there not only one answer? To go back before the first seat. Pardon, that is precisely the plan of the Imperial Venerable and the will of the underworld. To trace back the unending history of the world and finally reach the time before the first. To go further back than light itself and through this, transcend the light. That is our goal. Ku-gu-gu-gu-gu. Great King Qin Guang extends their hand forged of flames and blades. I have heard from the Imperial Venerable. You met the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord in the Head Realm and heard of the Way of Light, did you not? Flinch. I feel chills rising over my body at those words. Does this mean the Heavenly Venerable of the underworld can freely observe what happens in the Head Realm? When I think about it, it makes sense. The elder sister of Sok Village in the Head Realm was the Heavenly Venerable of the underworld. And according to the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, the only beings authorized to interfere in the Head Realm are those from Radiance Hall. Yet, the Heavenly Venerable of the underworld could so easily send an incarnation to the Head Realm and wield authority there. Does this mean they are in existence somewhat outside the laws set by Radiance Hall? Even the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord lost their memory and acted accordingly until they reached the chi-refining fourth star in the Head Realm, but the Heavenly Venerable of the underworld can retain their memory and have the authority to revise the history of the Head Realm even in the body of a mortal. As my thoughts race, Great King Qin Guang continues to speak. The Way of Light oppresses all living beings with fate. They proclaim this to be true freedom, but that is sheer nonsense. The Way of Salt mentioned by the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, does that not fit far better with the world? Granting all beings the right to resist fate, would you not say that is true freedom? The owner of Salt Mountain, the Salt Sea Supreme Deity, was a sworn ally who shared the same will as the Imperial Venerable. Thus, if you claim to have inherited your master's legacy, join us in the aspiration of the underworld. That's right. Ultimately, Great King Qin Guang's long discourse is an offer to recruit me.